Anna. So today I met with Polly, who is my international student that I've been working with. She is from China, and we discussed the differences and similarities between our experiences from high school. So Polly went to school in China, but she went to in a sort of like international school in China. So all of her teachers were from Canada. Like all the other students were Chinese as well from different parts of China, but they like all came together and they lived in dorms and then they would like come over to the campus and she said her school was about like the size of Michigan State's East Campus. So it was like a pretty big school, I guess. But when I asked her about what her day looked like, she basically said that they would all wake up at like 7 and walk over to the school together. And then they had homeroom first hour, which was a lot like what I had in school too. We just had like a study hour. Like we didn't call it homeroom, but it was like the basically the same thing. And they had that at 7:30. I started school at 7:45. And then they went till 2:30 and I also went till 2:35. So I was surprised by how similar our schedules were, I guess. You know, she had 5 classes a day, not including her homeroom, and that's how many I had as well. Of course, it was different. I did not, I did not go to like a boarding school. I didn't live in dorms when I was in high school. Um, but she said it was also the only high school in all of China that separates boys and girls. So it was like an all girls school. And I was really surprised by the fact that they were the only like separated school, because I feel like that's a pretty common thing here in America. I know a lot of girls who went to all girls schools and a couple of guys who went to all guys schools. So I was surprised that she said, it was the only one. So when I asked her about what she worried about in high school, I asked for like her top 3 biggest worries, but she basically just said that her only worry, like all the time, was her grades. They didn't have like a lot of homework. I don't think she really was involved in sports all that much. But she said she just constantly worried about her grades. Studied all the time. And that was the biggest concern of hers. She said that she didn't even really like school itself. So when I asked her about like the 3 things that made her the happiest when she was in high school, she basically said just like all of the social aspects of it, like she said like she actually hated school and she like hated class. So like from the moment school got out to like when they were like all walking back to their dorms together, she said that that was like the only thing she really liked, is like as soon as they were done with school she only really liked being with her friends. So when I was in high school, we took the ACT for our standardized test that we take, before we go to college. I know a lot of other schools take the SAT. We took other stuff too, like prep exams, and like the MEP is like an exam we used to have to take. And so when I asked Polly about the different tests that they took in China, she said that they had a few. She had to take a test at her school before she graduated. So her school was like an international school. The high school degree that they got was like counted for Canada and counted for China. So they had to take this test before they like officially graduated, just to make sure that they learned all of the Chinese material that they were supposed to learn, since all their teachers were like Canadian. She also had to take a test to make sure that she knew English, so that she could come to college. I'm not sure if that's just for her school, or like because she was coming to school in America, or if it was like they do that in all of the schools in China, but she went to a private school, so she wasn't sure if everyone else did that or not. And then I asked her about how she prepared for that, and she said that all of the tests that they have to take like those kind of standardized tests are like ridiculously easy. People would kind of study some stuff like a little bit like a couple nights before, but she said it doesn't really matter what your grade was on the test. It just matters that you passed. And in China, passing is getting a 60%. So she said it was like almost no one failed because it was super easy. So during our interaction, I was really surprised by how much we did have in common, about our opinions about school, how we felt about school, and we talked a lot about our experiences here at Michigan State as well. And we just had a lot more in common than I was expecting us to. Obviously, her high school was a little different than I was expecting it to be. I was a little confused about how everything worked there. And I mentioned in the last video that one of my concerns was that we were gonna have like a bit of a language barrier issue, and I think we kind of did. I kind of had trouble understanding her at points, and I talk with like a lot of idioms and metaphors and stuff, and I would say stuff like that, and then she would actually get kind of confused, and it made for like a little bit of like miscommunication. So I was kind of expecting that, but that is something that we kind of ran into during our interview. Insight that I got out of having this interaction with Polly was basically just that things are not as different between our two countries as I kind of expected them to be. We both had homeroom classes. We had the same number of classes every day. We went to school for the same number of hours every day. We both had sports after school. We both had student government. So, there is like an overlying similarity in the way that our education systems work, and I guess I never really thought about that. I always just kind of assumed that their education experiences were probably very different than our educational experience, but we worried about the same kind of stuff in high school. We liked the same kind of stuff in high school, and I'm not really sure what I was expecting, but that wasn't it. I guess what I took away from this interaction was just that um, we're not as different as I was expecting us to be, I think.